Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, From Hassle to Harmony, Fine-Tune Your Fixed Asset Management with SWK and Sage. Before we get started, let's go over some housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the webinar, you can ask any questions you have. If you have a question, please put your question in the question section of your GoToWebinar or the chat, and we'll answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We're also recording this presentation, and it'll be available to all attendees, as well as those who registered but unable to attend today. And finally, we'd appreciate your participation in our polls throughout the webinar and also our closing survey. With that said, we're thrilled that you've taken some time out of your busy day to be with us on this session. Whether you're here to explore a new solution or you're just here to learn, we're here to help you get all the information you need. And as a quick reminder, SWK and Sage are both constantly sharing important updates and tips and tricks on our social media channels, so give us a follow. Okay, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand it over to Greg Abbott and the rest of the team for the main event.
Thanks, Courtney. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon cases. Thank you all for joining the webinar. I'm Greg Abbott with Sage. I support channel partners throughout North America, including SWK. And also with us from Sage is our senior sales fixed assets pre-sales consultant, Ed Williams. Been around a long time, knows this product inside and out, has so much passion about it still, it's amazing. So you'll be hearing quite a bit from Ed. We're thrilled to collaborate with SWK today and give you an overview of the fixed asset solution and our integration with Sage 100, 300. SWK is our go-to partner. What makes them unique is their extensive experience in several Sage products, including fixed assets, Sage 100, 300, HRMS, Intact, as well as the ability to provide you customers access to their Sage applications in the cloud from anywhere, anytime. So, thus increasing productivity and efficiency like never before. So we're excited about that. You'll hear a little bit about that from Noah. Just like Sage, SWK is a very customer-focused company, so I am happy to have them here, and I know you are in excellent hands. So with that, I'll hand this over to Carla, SWK, to share a little bit about their team. And again, thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, Greg, and welcome everybody. We're excited to partner with Sage and do this webinar and do some education on the FAS product, and we're also going to go into some of our SWK hosting options, and Noah from my team will be presenting at the end of this. So we're excited to be here. Hopefully you'll learn a lot, and please do participate in the polls and ask questions. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, I will hand it over to Ed, and we'll kick it off with the FAS demo, and then we will go into the hosting, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Williams. I am the sales engineer for the Sage Fixed Assets account management team. What we're going to discuss today are the 4 different modules that make up the Sage Fixed Assets suite. Right now, what we're looking at is Sage Fixed Assets is your one-stop cradle-to-grave asset management system, okay? Within the application, you are able to track assets, run maintenance on assets, schedule maintenance on assets, inventory assets, run depreciation on assets. Our calculation engine is the best in the industry for the past 30 years, and the over 300,000 IRS rules and regulations that we build into the application actually is what is going to keep you in compliance with the IRS rules and regulations. Now, if you notice on this slide, we're taking you through the life cycle of an asset. So we're going to start with CIP. The construction in progress allows you to be able to have a project running, have assets that you know are going to be put into use in the company, but keep those in your construction in progress project until you're ready to place those assets in in use in your organization. The tracking is the asset tracking feature that will allow you to put barcodes on assets. It also will allow you to identify ghost and zombie assets. What do I mean by ghost and zombie assets? Assets that you think you have, but you don't. Assets that you have, but you are not accounting for. Okay, next slide, please. And who uses Sage Fixed Assets? Any company or business, large or small, that has desk, chairs, computer equipment, refrigerators, any office furniture, those are assets. Companies that want to manage their assets, big or small, those are the companies that would want to use Sage Fixed Assets. And you don't need the ERP systems to connect to. Depreciation. Within the application, the depreciation application, you have access to over 7 books. You can go from 1 book to 20 books. I've never seen anybody use 20 books, but I'm waiting to see it. Anyway, you can run depreciation tax calculations on your assets, and at the end of the year, you are able to produce tax reports that you can then send over to your CPA to create your corporate taxes. We have built into the application SOC reports. So that's your Sarbanes-Oxley reports that you can print out if you have an auditor come in or somebody wants to see what access controls you have on your assets. We have that built into the system. And it will integrate with most ERP systems. There may be some customization work that has to be done, but we can integrate with the majority of ERP systems. Next slide, please. Planning, construction in progress. This is a big money maker for customers because they can start a project. If that project was going to run multiple years, then I can track assets either from the time that I want to place them in service. I can put them in the depreciation module. I can also create assets from the planning module and move those into my depreciation module so an asset can start depreciating, and it doesn't have to wait until a project is complete. You do this by line items as you finish spending on line items. Next slide, please. Tracking. Very useful. Helps you keep track of your inventory assets. Also, if you have assets that you aren't depreciating, but they're pilferable assets, you have a dollar amount set. $500 we aren't going to track, but $500 is what a laptop costs. Laptop is a pilferable item. I want to be able to track that, but not depreciate it. So I would enter that asset just to be able to make sure when I go out and do my inventory that I still have that pilferable asset, even though I'm not calculating depreciation on it. Also, you can print your own barcode labels. That way you can keep track of all of your assets, and you can have up to 12 additional fields that you can use to identify assets during an inventory process. Next slide, please. Maintenance. This is a new feature that has been introduced into the application as of version 2024.0. What this allows you to do is to do fleet management type operations. So if you have a vehicle, that vehicle needs an oil change, I can schedule that oil change. I can schedule a technician. I can sign that vehicle out, send it out for maintenance, and when the maintenance is done, it can come back in and I can bring it back into the system. Now, release it from maintenance. Now, it also will identify assets that were supposed to have maintenance done on them, but slipped through the cracks. So now I can run a report to see which assets I have that's overdue in maintenance. I can identify those. I can get with the person that is in charge of that maintenance and say, hey, we need to go ahead and move this through. Also, if you have IT assets, another useful function of the maintenance feature is to be able to do your life cycle replacement type calculations. Next slide, please. Reporting. Now, the reporting piece is actually Crystal Reports 2020. Know a lot of people out there saying Crystal Reports is so old, but Crystal Reports is very versatile. And that's why it's still on the market being used. Just because you have this feature, it allows you to take canned reports that comes out of the box with the application. You can modify those reports. If you see information that you really need, but it doesn't show up in any report, then you can also use the Crystal reports to create your own custom generated reports from within the application. Next slide, please. Sage 100 and Sage 300 integration. Sage Fixed Assets is able to integrate with the ERP system Sage 100 and Sage 300. We can also post your general ledger information into those ERP systems that will show you debits and credits. And that is all that I have right now. And
Well, and
now,
Ed, I was gonna say, Ed, before we pass it on, I think we want to do a quick poll. So,
okay.
we just went through some of those different functionalities. So, we want to know which apps in the Sage Fixed Asset Suite would your business benefit from? So is it that depreciation, planning, tracking specifically in asset maintenance, or reporting? Thank you for everyone, folks. The poll, I mean, for everyone that can't see it, the poll is really, active right now. We've got pretty much across the board, which I think is to be expected. But, so far the leaders are definitely in depreciation and reporting.
Okay.
Try and point bind. So we're gonna leave this open just a bit longer. I see most of the audience has voted, but if you're still making up your mind, and then we'll share those so everyone can see. Okay, so I'm gonna close this out now. Let's just share, because I think we might all be interested. Depreciation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, huge one.
Huge.
So, a bit across the board, but some clear leaders there. Okay, back to you guys. That's our quick poll.
Okay, and now I think I am going to pass it on to Noah.
Perfect. Thanks, Ed. Awesome stuff. Yeah, guys, I am Noah Corwick, account executive at SWK Technologies, and let's talk about some awesome cloud hosting with Sage and Sage Fixed Assets. So I think a good place to start is kind of the past hesitancy, kind of the origin of the cloud, if you will, in a way. It's the great buzzword, the great meme. It's referenced in movies, and it was truly an unknown, right? There was a lot of thinking along the lines of, I won't have control over my infrastructure and my stuff, and my data is now the hosting providers. And people would also say, I won't get hacked, my security's fine locally, despite the fact that small to medium-sized businesses are the number one most targeted in the world to get to the major players out there, right? Another big one on this is the physical touch factor. People get the warm and fuzzies for things that they can touch, being a physical server, right? In this regard. So there's a lot of the unknown. It wasn't a proven commodity, but today, obviously, a lot of businesses have migrated to the cloud completely, 50%, some percent, and it's obviously so widely used. So that's where some of the hesitancy came from before. Where the cloud's really taken off, and some of the great benefits, to highlight a few here, is cost control and predictability. A lot of hosting providers charge on a per user or a per server resource standpoint. So it makes it easy to predict. If you add users, remove users, add servers, remove CPU and RAM, you should know exactly what you're going to be billed for each month. Makes things predictable and easy from an accounting standpoint. On the on-premise server side, servers can give you the screens of, or it could shut down. On your end, you get the screens of death, electricity goes out, you have to renew your licensing, and there's a plethora of random things that can spin up that affect cost, obviously. Along those lines, the cloud provides a great OpEx or operating expense sort of formula for all the accountants out there. I'm sure it makes your life easier. Predictability is king. Where CapEx, obviously, it's those one-time pretty large fees, and for a server that's mid to enterprise grade, that is not a cheap investment. You're going to be spending a good bit, plus all the Windows licensing, just the user cals, a bunch of different stuff that goes into it there. Because of all the things that we said, there's a lot of cost savings with the cloud, right? You don't have to worry about a new server every 3 to 5 years and all the licensing that we talked about, the backup, the security, things like that. Moving to the cloud, it's because of, it's in the cloud, it's less management from you, where if you want to add things, remove things, have questions, or Windows updates or software updates, a hosting provider like SWK can help with that, as opposed to you doing it yourself, having to manage it and coordinate with different users and things like that. Along those same lines, because of that, it's easy to scale. You just contact a support team for the hosting provider and they'll get it done for you at the end of the day. You don't have to worry about, adding servers to the domain, joining them at the domain, getting licensing, things like that we've already talked about. You get the benefit of around-the-clock support, having a US-based team that has your back and is monitoring things 24/7, as opposed to a small IT team that, again, they're human beings, they're going to sleep, they have rough days, they go on PTO, and you get a dedicated team that has an extended bench that has your back. Security is a big one. We'll go into this a little bit more on the next slide, but security changes probably twice or 5 times while we're on this call. Having to keep up with that is a bit of a chore. Hosting providers do that for you. Then easy access from anywhere. Outside of SWK, I use a Mac device, so it's nice to be able to access PC-based software on a Mac device or a tablet or insert device here. As long as you have internet access at the end of the day, you'll be able to access via any device. Next slide, please. All right, so some more specifics, what can you host? I kind of break this down into 3 different software categories: desktop, hybrid, and web-based. So your desktop software is anything that can go on a Windows computer or a Windows server. Hybrid is kind of a marriage of the two. There's a desktop component, but also a cloud component that could be like a sync of some sort. And there's web-based software, where it's just fully already in the cloud already. So basically the question is, what can be hosted? Well, the most geeky I'll get on this is anything that can be installed on a Windows terminal server at the end of the day, Windows-based software. So that's most desktop software. Hybrid software, that's most of it can as well. And web-based software, it's already in the cloud. You can't cloud a cloud, you can't inception it. So those are already cloud-based, so you can't re-put it in the cloud. The best example of this is Office 365, right? Where there's a desktop component, which I'm sure we all use today or daily. There's the hybrid component where you can sync things to a OneDrive or a SharePoint, but it's being utilized locally. And there's a web-based component where you can access on office365.com and access your Microsoft suite that way. On a support standpoint, I know I kind of mentioned this before, but a person versus a team, right? A person's a human being, they get sick, on PTO, get married, just have a life at the end of the day. And it's also impossible for one person to be a master of all things IT. It's because you're great at monitoring cloud servers doesn't mean you're a master ninja at cybersecurity. So it's a completely different train of thought. So having teams that specialize in specific things but also have a deep bench is just key from a support standpoint. And being able to monitor things 24/7 is as important as ever with all the cyber fun, in air quotes, going on. Being able to jump on things quickly, having a proactive approach versus a reactive approach. If something looks malicious, investigating it, as opposed to clients coming to the hosting provider and say, hey, does this look weird? It should be the opposite. But it's also about having great tools. So the days of just having Norton antivirus or just Windows Defender that comes with all Windows PCs it's the time has moved. So having enterprise or best-in-class security tools is really more important than ever, with crypto or cyber criminals way too smart for anyone's own good. But having tools is awesome, but having a team behind it might be even more important. In the security world, that's called a Security Operations Center, or a SOC team. And the specialists, again, are just on the security side. So having a team that has your back is extremely important. MFA, multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, it goes by a couple different names. That's become the industry norm. Highly recommend that. SWK, we offer that. A lot of hosting providers probably do as well. Backups, making sure your data is backed up at least once a day. We do it 3 times a day because backups are so important. That's a security measure in itself. Jumping over to our last point here is our clients' favorite things. By far, it's anywhere access from any device anytime. A lot of any's there. That's the beauty of the cloud. You're not confined to just one workstation. The world is your virtual office. You go to access on the beach, just don't get sand in your computer, right? Get a hotspot going. It's a beautiful life because of the cloud. Upgrades and updates to the software done for you. You don't have to manage coordinating Sage fixed assets being updated on everyone's device. If it's in the cloud, one update updates it for everybody. Same thing as Windows updates. Not having to maintain VPNs if they're not maintained are very cumbersome and clunky and make things kind of slow. So not having to worry about VPNs is always really nice. We talked about scalability, so it's a quick phone call. Hey, SWK, can you add more users? It's easy as that. We talked about cost savings already. So the last thing, though, I would say is peace of mind. Being able to run your business in not having to worry about the back-end infrastructure, the security, the uptime, the backups, the things that you might not specialize in. That's okay. You're specializing in the books or run the business. We allow you to be able to sleep well at night. If something does come up, we can definitely give you a call. But having a team of trained specialists that have your back 24/7, hopefully will make things a little smoother for your business. And that is it for me. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Noah. Yeah, so I'm gonna hop back in here so we can do another quick poll, and this is gonna be our, last poll for today. And then we're gonna go into Q&A as well too. So I think, our next slide's our Q&A slide. So while we're doing this poll, if you have a question, please go ahead and put it in. We wanna keep things short and sweet today and not take up, hours and hours upon everyone's time, but there is a lot more to dive into. So get those questions in and we'll get into some of those nitty-gritty details. Now, as you can see, just in this poll, we're asking, do you want to see a personalized demo of Sage Fixed Assets and really show you the software there? And would you like to learn more about SWK's cloud hosting and how hosting can provide you that anywhere time access for your fixed asset software or any of your other solutions through us? And there we've had a lot of votes so far, a lot of poll responses so far. So we're going to leave that open for just a few more moments if you haven't had a chance to respond yet. And I'm seeing some great questions come in too. So thank you for those. If you haven't got your question in yet, now is the time. You can drop it in the chat or the question section, and I will, get those questions asked to Noah and Ed and Carla and everyone else on the call. Okay, so we're going to close this poll out now and dive right into Q&A. Okay, team, are we ready for some questions? I see Carla is. Okay, let's dive in. So our first question is actually going to be, I think, for Noah. So Noah, what makes SWK's hosting different from other hosting options?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So a couple things come to mind is that we're experts in obviously Sage Fixed Assets, but the Sage suite at the end of the day. Business needs change, you add things, upgrade, things like that, right? So our experience in the world of Sage, I think, sets us apart tremendously. A couple other things is we offer dedicated hosting, means it's your environment's your slice of the pie, and other clients it's theirs. Allows for better customization, security, just overall speeds and usage overall. We make sure our environments come with a healthy amount of server resources. A lot kind of lack in that department. We have security specialists on staff. Remember that SOC team that I talked about? We have a specific security operations team that is overlooking things. So if something comes up, we have the people that can help. MFA, multi-factor authentication, comes with every environment on the security front. We back up 3 times a day. Most providers back up 1 time a day. And this one's very pointed, but I always like to call it out for anyone that's like a CPA or accountant. We make it easy for you to access mutual clients. Like client 1 and client 2 won't know the others exist, but you have easy direct access into both of them. So helps you collaborate, do the work with them much easier than it possibly could be. So yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. Great question.
Can I add something to that, Noah?
Yeah, of course.
It is a lot of customers get confident in the hosting provider when they know that that hosting provider actually specializes in the application that they want hosted. That was it.
Agreed. Well said.
Yeah, those are some great points. And we have someone out in the audience that said, I already have it through SWK and it's great. So, I love to hear that. Our next question is, about the fixed asset side. So this audience member wants to know, how does Sage fixed assets handle cost adjustments, asset transfers, and partial disposals?
And this is it, with the fixed assets application, you can import disposals from a spreadsheet. You can bulk dispose at multiple assets at one time, or you can dispose of assets and or transfer assets individually or through a bulk transfer feature. Now, importing disposals is a new feature that was released with version 2023.1. So if you aren't on subscription 2023.1, you're missing out on a heck of a feature, because that handles it really nicely. Plus, when you're doing a transfer of an asset, if you're sending that asset to another company, then you can also specify what general ledger accounts that asset is going to be using in the new company, because those GL numbers may not actually be the same in each one of the companies. And you're able to print out disposal reports. You're able to print out transfer reports. So you're always going to know where your assets are and what the posture of that asset is. Plus, the application captures history on everything that happens to an asset. So when you transfer it, it's going to capture that history. The incoming company is going to capture that transfer coming in. So we touch bases with everything, even to the audit compliance level. That was
awesome. Great to know. We have another question too about fixed asset capabilities. So this question was, what capabilities does Sage Fixed Assets provide for tracking the status and location of a fixed asset?
Good question. Within the depreciation suite, the depreciation module and the tracking module, I like to use my hands a lot, they share the exact same database. So if they share the same database, then some of those fields that are mandatory in your fixed assets module is also going to be in your tracking module. So you have location is in your fixed assets module. Your room number, floor, building is in your tracking module. Put all of those together in a report. Now you have the complete visibility of an asset. Okay.
Okay, great. And I've got more questions coming. So I think this one's actually, I think this one might be for Noah, but I've got some more coming up for you, Ed. So
okay. Okay.
Noah, this question is, when is the best time to migrate to the cloud? So, is there a best time to make that switch from on-prem?
Yeah, it's all going to be circumstantial, right? I would definitely say the one that comes to mind is when your server is on the, age side, it's older, right? And you have to understand, well, do I, get a new server or do I move to the cloud, right? That's a very common scenario. I talk through that all day, every day. And again, there's different benefits of moving to the cloud and, just kind of have to do the pros and cons with it. But I would say definitely server refreshes. As far as like timing goes too, that's another thing. It's all depending upon like, slow season or busy season, right? I always compare this to like tax practices where, honestly, you shouldn't move to the cloud during busy season. You got a lot of stuff going on. There's, you got a lot of clients to make sure are taken care of. As opposed, when it's slow season, which it could be now or, in a couple months, where you typically, you have part-time people that you don't need to, factor in and things like that. So, a lot of it's timing. A lot of it is just when there's like a hardware refresh cycle. And yeah, Carla, go ahead.
I have to put there too.
Yeah.
I think a really good time to move to the cloud is during an upgrade, because normally you're doing a test and then a go live, and we do a lot of that. That's when a lot of ours are moving to the cloud because it's an easy time. You have to have a different instance anyway or a different place to put your test system. It's a great way to get used to the cloud, and then when you go live in the cloud environment.
Oh yeah, that is super common as well. That's probably number 2 on my list. So yeah, great call.
I didn't know how to raise my hand in there, so I talk with my hands too.
We love it. So I think, we're about at the half hour. I think we've got one more question for you guys. So this one again is about Sage Fixed Assets. So what makes the reporting features in Sage Fixed Assets flexible and user-friendly? So can you dive into those reporting features a bit more, Ed?
The canned reports that comes in the application are pretty comprehensive. And there's over 28 canned reports that comes with the application, plus 10 additional tax reports that comes with the application. Some of those reports are customizable, some aren't. But in order to customize, you have to have the reporting module. Now, the benefit of that is you may see all of those canned reports and say, yes, this satisfies 90% of my requirement for what I need to report on. But if you want to modify those reports, then you can go in and remove information and add information that you want to see. Once you save that modified report, it also becomes available to anybody that may have the client application installed on their system. So you may have 100 customized reports of the 28 canned reports. Everybody has access to those, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, which saves a lot of time. And like I had stated before, if you have the reporting module, then you can write your own crystal reports from the application. But don't think that you're just stuck to crystal reports, because if you know Power BI, or you know how to connect Excel to an ODBC driver, that is also another way that you can generate reports. And SWK would be able to accommodate that also.
Absolutely.
Great. That sounds like there's a lot of capabilities there when it comes to reporting.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and so that's, if you're interested, we kept this, went through those different modules pretty fast, and we dove into some of the details here in the Q&A with those great questions from all of you out there in the audience. But if you want to learn more or see, a more personalized demo and really learn how this can help your business specifically, reach out to your SWK rep or reach out to us at info@swktech.com. If you're already a customer, you know how to reach us, but we're here to help. We'll connect you with our team. If you're interested in that hosting piece, Noah is really great and can give you all the detailed information there. So let us know in the follow-up survey, and we'd like to just thank you all for spending some time with us on this day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Take care.